Warning, imminent sideways market. Well. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Wish you a happy and healthy start to your Sunday calendar. Where are we? Yeah, we're Sunday the 24th. Have a happy Sunday in your life. And we got plenty to talk about on the short-term timeframes actually for Bitcoin. Of course, higher-term timeframes could be a focus of today, seeing as it is a weekend, and there's not really anything to talk about other than cryptocurrencies today. So with that in mind, I would like to wish you the best. And let's get into the Krown Chain application over here, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. It's undergoing a major, massive facelift soon, sir. Probably in this next week. Anyways, with that said, Bitcoin dominance heading down again. We've seen it come down another 0.75%, down about 63.33%. So we are still seeing the altcoin rally continue versus their Bitcoin Satoshi pairing. And I would essentially look for this to, well, continue as long as Bitcoin's caught in a sideways range, as we've been saying, between about 31,000 to the downside and 40,000 to the upside. So as long as that is as that is being met, it is the time to be playing altcoins, so to speak. Anyways, on top of that, what do we see? Fear and greed index also coming down 4 points from setting 40 with 70, as Bitcoin more or less ranges on or around the lows, you could say. And then also open interest, more or less steady from yesterday to today as well. But more importantly, we kind of seen it at this bottom side range, correlated with the bottom side of price action range at about that $31,000 level. So, you know, coming in from that level, we do, or if we are going to see reaccumulation within this region, what we'd expect to see over the next week or two is open interest heading up, while price action essentially puts in a base a little bit above 31,000 bucks, and then perhaps even gives another try to the upside, perhaps even led by Mr. Buterin himself. In fact, that actually might be a better thing to focus on today. It's just more interesting right now. So into the data tab we go, and what do we see over here? Global funding rate, show me the money. And by show me the money, I mean, don't show me anything, because there is very little to talk about right here. Everything down around 0.01%. So that is, I don't see anything out of the ordinary here. I don't see anything that is particularly exciting, and nothing that really offers up an edge. Looking at everything else, at first pass, I don't see anything. Nothing out of the ordinary today. More or less the same old. So with that in mind, we have to go into the actual price charts themselves. And we'll start off with Bitcoin today. And there's a couple big things on Bitcoin that I want to speak about that are potential to happen as soon as today's daily total closer. Now, we had a potential for this yesterday as well, but it did not get confirmed, nor did it get denied. And that was the daily DMI ADX, of which we do see that the DMI mine is technically dominant right now, but with it having a downward slope like that, that's not really a signal in and of itself, even though the ADX is technically above the threshold as well. My threshold currently right around 23. Now, this is a very aggressive reading for a threshold. Usually I have it at around 24, actually. Sometimes I even put it at 25 when things are really sideways. But I wouldn't say that that's necessary right now, but a 24 read would actually be more applicable. So technically speaking, it's just barely above, and more importantly, we don't see the signal that you really want to see for a full-on trending move just yet. Can it happen? Yes, absolutely. What would I be looking for if that is going to happen? Well, just like you see over here with the DMI Plus being dominant, you can see that it just goes straight fucking vertical after it gets above the threshold. And in this case, I'm really referring to the threshold right around 24 rather than 25. And damn it, did this not save my settings again? This motherfucker never saves my goddamn settings. There we go. All right, let's put a 24 right there. And let's see, I'll just save as default, although that seems to never really actually work. But there we go. And more importantly with that, yes, you can see it kind of come back up. I wouldn't say it necessarily retests, not really the right way to be interpreting something like that, but for the purposes of this conversation, we can kind of say it like that. And then yes, vertical after that. So if the DMI minus is going to really produce an actual signal, what we'd expect to see is very likely today, at the very latest tomorrow, that being Monday, go vertical off this level, and we want to see the ADX continue to be strengthened as well. What you typically do see with a read like this, especially when it is counter to the macro trend, which the macro trend is certainly very much up right now, is you actually see a bit of a fake out in a region like this. Now, if that's going to happen, what would we expect to see? Well, quite literally the opposite. DMI minus just nosedive right here, while the DMI plus starts to work its way upwards and onwards, and that would be damn good indication that we are going to see reaccumulation within this region. Now, can that happen? Like I said, later today we could actually have that confirmed, and tomorrow would certainly be the latest day for that, especially for the DMI minus. If that actually fails to give a full-on signal for that, that would also be a pretty damn good counter signal that we probably do see reaccumulation within this region just by the nature of, well, of the way that all sort of works. Anyways, on top of that, what do we see with the daily MACD? It is starting to loosen up on the histogram as well. We saw that beginning on the 12-hour yesterday, now pouring into the daily. So one thing before the next, obviously. And as long as Bitcoin does hold above the bottom side trailing band right here, I do look at this as a nice base for price action. So with that in mind, let's go back to the 12-hour, because this one also had several signals that were going on yesterday. And yes, here we go. So Bitcoin on the 12-hour MACD, what do we see? We do see regular bullish divergence actually on the MACD histogram. Now, to be fair, this divergence is not present on RSI. How often do I see divergence present on MACD histogram but not present on RSI play out? Not as often. However, it is in place, and I would be looking for the 12-hour on our regular charts a little bit later for any sort of a signal. But basically, what would confirm this in essence of likely to produce that divergence move? Well, if we get back above this little prior starter step right here, it's going to be like a local high in a 4-hour, which is $33,000. Then yes, I would extend this run all the way up to at the very least 35,500, and likely potential to travel upwards and onwards from there. But we'll get into that soon enough. And here is the same signal that I'm referencing on the 12-hour here's the same sort of signal that we have building on the daily that you can reference on the 12-hour right here. You can see the DMI minus really failing to get lift off right now. Now the ADX is really starting to lose its strength. So to me, this is a fake out right here. But what we expect to see on the next tick or two, well, I guess since it is a 12-hour, we could make that more like 3 or 4. Is we'd want to see the DMI minus like technically go down below the threshold. ADX wants to come down as well, and then when the DMI plus starts to pop up, we want to see the ADX go with it. If that happens, again, a damn good signal that we're going to see this regular bullish evidence play out, and likely a drive not just to 35,500, but probably back up to the top side of the range, to be fair, as this would just look like one falling channel, if you want to call it that. I don't really see channels work too well in Bitcoin, to be fair. But more importantly, when you see a histogram like this on a price action that's essentially created a range, I mean, I don't really have a major issue with it, as it would imply, well, reaccumulation within the context of this current price action. Again, remember, when we're going back on over here and referencing the open interest, we saw open interest come steadily down from 6.5 billion down to where we are right now at 4.7.5 million. Billion, that is, to be fair. So that means that if price action was coming down from about 40,000 to 30,000, what does that suggest with correlated with the open interest? Well, it suggests that longs are taking profits, and realistically, you don't really see bear markets or full-on reversals start from that, or at least sustained reversals. What you'd want to see is open interest going up while price action goes down. That would be indicative of a complete shift in market structure, but we don't see that just yet. In fact, we see quite literally the opposite. So while I do still think that it's possible for Bitcoin to really have some serious downside here, my conditions for it are very much the same. As long as we're above 30,750, or if you just want to round up to 31,000 bucks, but keep in mind that it's not exactly that number, then I can't really get super bearish here. We've called a few moves to the downside. We get the last one down below to 28,500. But still, even the closure on that one coming back up above that critical level, and that means that is a nice pivot, at least for myself, to judge further downside trades. Doesn't mean that it can't happen, but if it does happen, that's when my buys officially shifts to some pretty severe downside moves, and I would be targeting anywhere between about 23 to 24,000 back down around here. So that is still very much available. And of course, with Bitcoin, I guess, closer to the bottom side resolution of this whole formation than the top, that is, I guess, a little bit more relevant for our current price action. But that condition still has failed to be met. And you can see even yesterday, Bitcoin just, just works its way upwards and onward. Well, maybe not upwards and onwards, but sideways and slightly up, we could call it. So let's see. Do we have any other higher term timeframes closing today? Did the 2-day close today? It does. Yes, it does. It does. Again, the 2-day showing that 31,000 number as well. So we're not getting anything too unique off of this. MACD is a little bit more concerning right here. Obviously, you can pull back the last sort of similar read that we saw back in December when Bitcoin was doing this consolidation that ultimately led to continuation. But this one's a lot more severe right here. So it would be a little bit more concerning. More importantly, though, if we get another signal on the DMI ADX, that would be a damn good signal in this case, as you do see that the DMI plus is very close to being dominant. Not quite there just yet. ADX is obviously losing its strength, but this is about the point where you do expect a decision to be made, and that could mean both to the upside and the downside. So that's why it's really important to have these lined up with pivots on price action so that the buys can actually be confirmed. And in this case right here, again, 31,000 for the downside. Upside's obviously very, very far away right now. Well, respectfully speaking, at about 40,000 bucks. So doesn't mean that it can't happen, but it's probably going to spend some more time, going sideways within this region. And if we're looking for more sideways within this region, then it's probably going to be, more or less altcoin time. Even when Bitcoin's been dumping within this region, altcoins have actually held up, or actually have gained on the ratio on the whole. Not all altcoins, they certainly aren't all created equal, as what I'm finding out. It's actually have gone around and done a few more a few more deeper looks into some of them as far as like actual chart action goes. And there's certainly a bifurcation between like the 2017 shitcoins and the one of the current crop, which you would expect. So I see like a lot of people still holding the 2017, 2018 shitcoins, expecting them to rally in the same way that you're seeing DeFi right now. No, it's very similar to what we saw in 2017 versus 2014 to 2015, where there was shitcoins of that crop as well. But were they relevant in 2017, 2018? Yeah, they got a few pops here and there, but certainly nowhere near what the shitcoins that were newly debuted in 2018 got or 2017 got. And same thing for this era as well. But now the flavor of the rally, if you will, is the DeFi coins, right? So with that in mind, 3-day, looking at it right here, again, very, very similar sort of signal that we could print, but needs to turn around pretty much right here. And we are going to be closing this 3-day at tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So we got daily, 2-day, 3-day, and weekly all closing today, same time, same place. And that is really, 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 really important, because if we are going to see the 3-day continue, we'd really expect to see these signals actually start to build back up again. And that would go equally as true for the 3-day MACD. We don't really want to see this actually get a bearish cross, especially when it is this close to the bottom side support of this whole formation. While that's not necessarily a signal in and of itself, it certainly would be building one and building a massive case for one. And what about the weekly as well? I mean, there's one obvious thing about the weekly that would, very clearly indicate bullish continuation here, and that would be closing above the topside trailing band once again. But that is for reference right around 37,500. Now we're going to go through some low-term time frame stuff that would show, some interest around that region as well. But keep in mind that is, just keep that number in the back of your mind's eye, and we'll come back to it later. Anyways, let's go over Mr. Buteral on this chart as well, just because I think Mr. Buteral actually is leading. Someone actually asked me the other day, why do you call Ethereum Mr. Buteral? Have you seen the owner? Looks like he's on drugs, man. That's why. No, he looks like a lovely human being, Mr. Vitalik Buteral or whatever the fuck. With full respect, of course. Very interesting fellow, I would say. Very interesting fellow. Anyways, Ethereum over here looking actually pretty damn good. I stick with what I said yesterday. I do believe that we said a move to 1350 was likely, and we got a high of 1336 so far. It was very interesting, actually. Someone yesterday on the Twitch stream came in and said, "You were wrong about Ethereum." It's like, hold on. It's such a daily analysis by daily fucking analysis, not by the next goddamn hour price action. I'm more than happy to be, or it's not that I'm happy to be wrong, but I can certainly be wrong all the time. And, if you've been on this channel for even just a few months, you've seen me be plenty wrong all the time. But it always comes, with contingency and whatnot. And that's what I pride myself on, because as a trader, that's where your edge really does come from. And that's where you can actually, make something like this actually fucking work. It's not about like predictions and calling it and bullshit like that. It can't be done. I mean, yeah, you're going to, anyone can guess right a few times here and there, no doubt about that. But the problem is that, if you start to talk uncertainties, then you start to think uncertainties, and that just can't be done in trading. There's no such thing as certainty. It's a fucking crazy space, man. If you live long enough, you can see every goddamn thing that you don't think is possible happen. What about oil trading negative? Bet you didn't think about that one, but neither did I. And then you think that you've seen it all, but you haven't, because there's going to be something even more crazy right around the corner. I can assure you of that. Anyways, looking at daily right here, this is very interesting to me, because we do see that the daily MACD is essentially doing somewhat similar to what we've seen on Bitcoin before, where it does reset essentially, and we are getting a negative histogram right now, but the range is holding. It's within the context of higher lows and higher highs. This is very obviously a reaccumulation right here, and what do you know? We're approaching the top of the range once again. So to me, this is clearly shaping up as reaccumulation, and that of course always comes with the contingency, as long as we hold the last higher low right here, which was very much confirmed yesterday, and that means that 1100 is the magical number to hold on it daily. So as long as we're above 1100, I look at this as more or less bullish. That also means that if Ethereum comes back down and takes this area out with a closure below 1100, then we very likely do initiate downtrend mode, and we can start to talk about moves back down to like 800 or 900 bucks and probably beyond after that. But match that up with the daily DMI ADX, and we do see that the ADX is starting to strengthen. DMI plus starting to make its way up. Now obviously I want to see it to get above the threshold, but if we see those essentially happen amongst each other, or sorry, simultaneously, then very likely not only will we retest the prior all-time high, we're probably going to see new all-time highs here. Let's see what the I think the 2 day is probably closing here as well. 2 day just crawling its way upwards and onwards. Once again, same thing over here. Keep an eye on the DMI. If we do see that signal actually get liftoff today on closure, I'm going to be looking for 1600 plus on Buterol over the next week, and it looks pretty damn good. 3 day also has a chance to even close above the topside Trondheim band today. It's very much within reach. 1400 would be the magical number. If that condition gets met, I'd be looking for 1600 plus over the next few days, actually over the next 3 days, very likely. And what about the weekly here too? Remember that we are trending still above the topside Trondheim band on this one, so I'd keep an eye on this, as closures above would also kind of indicate further continuation, but maybe not as soon as a 3 day, probably later this next coming week, maybe even the week after that. And again, that magical number is going to be 1250-ish region. So as long as we're closing above there, I see rise and wicks, and I'm never going to hate something like that. And again, I want to kind of call back and reference what Bitcoin did within a similar situation like this, as we do typically see this market move in somewhat lockstep with each other, albeit at different times. And in this case right here, we do see that Mr. Buterol approaching its prior all-time high at 1350 on weekly closures. That is, you can see that it's spent about 1, 2, 3 weeks consolidating below. That's actually very reminiscent to what we saw on Bitcoin below 20,000 bucks right here, right? You do see that Bitcoin essentially gets that rising wick nature all along the 9 exponential moving average on this, on this chart. And what happens after that? 1, 2, 3 on week number 4, boom, lift off, and that's essentially what Mr. Buterol is doing, in my opinion, right here. Looks pretty damn good. Bitcoin actually back above 33,000, so we should probably go check it out in the low term timeframes over here, and let's do it. So on the low term timeframes right now, it's still kind of a shit fuck over here, is how I like to say it. I did say yesterday on the short term timeframes, if Bitcoin were to take out this low, I'd be looking for another drive down somewhere around the blue box down here. We didn't quite get exactly down there, but ultimately the interpretation of this was I at the same time would not be looking for a bounce off this, I would not be looking for a breakdown below this region. I'd be looking for a bounce off this region, as I don't think that, even if Bitcoin is going to be bearish here, I don't think that it breaks just yet. I think that it has a few more bounces off this region, whether you're bullish or bearish. And I would still kind of maintain a little bit of short-term bullishness from this. Looking at our momentum oscillators on the 4 hour, we do see that 4 hour Stokes still nice and erect. And by the way, they had a little bit of a one-off at the bullish control zone. But when you see something like this and then it closes above significantly, that's also a good sign that we're going to see continuation as well. And the magical number for that is 32,000 bucks, which is a clean $1,000 about below where we're currently operating. Doesn't mean that it can't happen, but within a little bit less than 2 hours here to closure, it looks rather likely that we probably do. Also 4 hour RSI, I don't see any divergences here. In fact, I do see a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders. Here's your left shoulder, here's your head, here's your right shoulder. Yes, you can look at formations on RSI, and guess what? I actually put a shit ton more weight on especially like head and shoulders and the more esoteric formations on RSI than I do on price action. On price action, I really only care about triangles, and on RSI, I can look at some other things. But in this case right here, I think that this is very obviously, well, I shouldn't say very obviously, but there is something really obvious here that would make me immediately bullish for not just a move back to like 35,500, but probably even gets extension to like 37,500. So tack another $2,000 onto that, and that's this pivot right here for the short term. 33,750 is the magical number. If we can get back above there, or if Bitcoin can just get back above there with either taking out the wick high, which was 33,835 and a half on Mexico, or a closure above, which is 33,650 it looks like, then I'd be looking for that continuation again. At the very least, another 2,000 bucks up to 35,500. I probably things don't stop there, to be fair, and we do see 37,500 after that. But technically speaking, this would be my next short-term target. realistically, this is probably my next real target, to be honest with you. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I do see a bit of an edge for a trade right there. Likewise, again, could we see a little bit of drama within this region come back down to 38.50? Yes, I do. I think that would be another opportunity for a trade. Yes, I do. We're seeing the contraction phase in the 4 hour that we identified over the last few days starting to really actually go now. And as long as this is contracting, I wouldn't really be looking for a break to the upside or the downside here. I'd be looking for ranging activities. And if we're going to hit the downside of the range right here at, just below 31,000 bucks, I'd be looking for a bounce there first and foremost. And until this gets, well below 50 percentile, I wouldn't really be looking for breakages, and preferably I want to see it in the teens or single digits. And right now, it's got some time to go. So I do look at this as more or less a healthiest signature over the long period of time within the context of, a general macro uptrend. Anyways, moving on to the 3 hour, what do we see right here? We do see 3 hour Stokes actually almost gonna have a fresh cross the upside with any sort of a closure above where? Basically where we're at right now, just below 33,000 bucks. That's gonna be coming in. Oh wow, this one's actually completely fresh AF, baby. Get your fresh green dildos over here. That's what come one, come all. Get your fresh green dildos in your face. It's great. It's really good. And then you can sound like me, or a raspy lesbian, but it's good. It's you can do all sorts of great things in a nightclub, right? Anyways, so yeah, another 3 hours to closure. If we do see that closure above about 33,000 bucks, that'd also be another damn good indication that we will see further continuation here. All lower term timeframe jewels are actually switching around to bullish posturings. These are not signals, but these are bullish posturings, given a bit of a bullish bias here, is what it would say. But it's not giving signals, so to speak, at the current moment in time. Same things that we're seeing on RSI, same things that we're seeing on HVP. So we'll just go on to the next time frame right here, and buy hourly is already popping up as well, and we do see that it will remain to the upside with any sort of a closure on the next 2 hour dildo above 32,228 and 29. And that is coming in at the same time as the next 4 hour closure, as well, as they are related to each other. Now, this is very interesting to me right here. We do see that 2 hour HVP is incredibly low, being in the single digits, which does suggest that we probably do see a move with probably like midday today. Well, midday for me in the Eastern European time zone. So whatever that is for you, Americans, have fun waking up at 4 a.m. But in this case right here, when it is a 2 hour, which isn't necessarily like a super powerful time frame, what could that indicate? It would indicate, could indicate a break to the upside of the range right here, or a move fully onto the downside, which would be 30,750. But again, I highly doubt that we actually do break to the downside here. Again, doesn't mean that it can't happen. My opinions are relevant on that. The bias is that if it does break, then I can really drive some more downside targets. But for now, no, it's just not as relevant. Moving on to the hourly, what do we see? Same number actually as the 2 hour. In fact, 32,250 is the magical number. Once again, this one looking like it wants to actually print a little bit of a lower high. Could we be potentially putting in some hidden bearish evidence here? Technically, between this point and this point, if it does confirm a lower high, and again, this is on incredibly low HVP, so we probably are looking at a move here, but in hourly, it's really not going to have enough juice to actually break this area right here. Probably even this area right here either. I mean, these are, $1,000 moves to the upside and more than $1,000 move to the downside. I guess things are a little bit crazy right now, so you don't really want to judge it like that. But if I was seeing like a read like this right at support or right at resistance, then I'd say so, yes. But I really look for like a 4 hour here to kind of judge the greater move of this. Especially if it is gonna initiate the downside, because that's just gonna be such a major trade there. Again, I'd be looking towards 23 to 24,000 bucks, bounce along the way, probably somewhere at around 27. What is this? 27,500? Yeah, 27,500. So there you go. Anyways, moving on, what do we have on the 12 hour right here? 12 hour is popping back up. We do see 12 hour Stokes getting a nice curvature to the upside. 29,400 is the magical number, which we're clean almost 3,000 bucks above right now. Looks rather likely. And of course, technically speaking, we do have this trend line coming in all the way from these last few highs, but trend lines were made to be broken. Trend lines don't last forever. Obviously, how can it if it literally will go all the way down here so goddamn aggressively? And obviously, the more that it respects it over time, the more and more like that this to break over time too. And in this case right here, this is an incredibly aggressively sloped trend line here. So in this case right here, I'd say that it's actually rather likely to break. And with a closure just above 29,500 about, it will do exactly that. And that would very likely also be another indication that, we're not just going to see 35,500. We probably see continuation to 37,500 is going to be the real target once again. 12-hour RSI, I think, really tells a story here as well. This looks like a very constructive read over a long period of time. I just want to see it not go back into into the bearish control zone. As long as it maintains above there, this is very clearly, once again, a bullish reset, indicating that we are seeing reaccumulation. Which, again, it is a little bit concerning that we don't see any divergences on RSI here. You typically want to see that, but it is present on MACD histogram. So I do reserve a little, a little bit here, but I still go with the former trend as always, and that's just my bias. Of course, you don't need to adopt that. Obviously, you don't need to do anything that I fucking say. Obviously, you're a free goddamn human being. I hate that mentality. We're all people here, right? Anyways, more importantly, daily Stokes will turn back onto the upside above 34,500. Why is that important? Well, obviously, that would be a lower number than the upside target for the short term if Bitcoin were to initiate the short term upside above the what was it on the 4 hour, above the 33.5 pivot essentially, and that would be 35,500. So if that condition is met again around daily closure, then we also naturally see daily Stokes pop back on up. And again, we're seeing this come all the way down. We're seeing this come all the way down when Bitcoin has been, well, more or less within a range, and daily RSI tells the story as well. I mean, there's nothing bearish about this daily RSI long term. Short term, I'd be looking for a bounce off this, probably just play back up the exponential on it. But more importantly, that still is fine long term as we go into likely another contraction phase soon based off daily HVP. By the way, getting it really, really right with my settings, as I do use more traditional settings on this one, and you can see that, once it did start to print red over here, that is actually where your reversal did happen thus far. But reversal into a sideways consolidation is what this does suggest, and that's what we see right here. So I do think that this range can go on for a lot more time actually. And keep in mind, we have a very big market event coming up in early February, and it's actually a very important one because we do see that Ethereum is going to get futures on CME. And the reason why that's important is because, well, typically when you have an event like that, everyone gets really, really excited going into it. Expectations are, oh my God, this is going to change the world. How's it going to fucking change the world? It's just another exchange to sell coins on, basically, or sell whatever the fuck you want to sell it on. It's like if you actually break it down, it's just ridiculous to think that to begin with. But this is what retailers typically think, and this is what, and I mean, technically speaking, I'm a retailer now because I don't have a fucking badge anymore. So, I throw myself in that same lump, I guess. But more importantly, at that point, could we see an actual reversal in the market? I mean, that's exactly what we saw in Bitcoin when Bitcoin had its CME futures debut back when over here. It actually did rally for like another week afterwards. I think futures were like the second week of December, so that would be right here. And then it did rally a little bit after. I do remember that. And then the inevitable pullback, we'll call it, of 80%. But as it stands over here, could we see this go into a rotational market where now we have Ethereum and Bitcoin kind of, picking each other up? Yes, it could, but I would look for an initial sell-off once, around that event, maybe like a few days after it, at the very latest. And sometimes they do get front ran, especially with people's prior conditioning from the last one. But then again, I mean, it's still such a small market. I don't think that there's that many people still in this market, to be honest with you. It's pretty small. Also, people like talking about this fucking max pain theory for options. It's very funny to me because that's like a very controversial theory in traditional markets, and that's where options are like actually fucking liquid, and Bitcoin options just they're so inconsequential. I don't think that it matters right now. Like, people are really grasping for straws in that one. I don't think that matters. Believe me, I can get bearish. Absolutely, I can. I very well can. But I need to see something a little more obvious here before I do. Subscribing to that theory is just. I don't think it works for Bitcoin yet. It will over time when options become more and more relevant, but they're just not right now. It's a fucking fraction of the market, a small fraction. Let's see, what does a 2-day say? Still riding the 21 there. What does a 3-day say? Still riding the 21 there too. Now, keep in mind that CMEs did close. They did close Friday on actually a little bit of a hammer dildo right here. More importantly, it closed about 33,300. So that's actually above where current price action is. So we probably hang around that area to start, to do most of today. But again, this looks good for a short-term move to the upside. And again, there's a lot of things that can be initiated. Not so far away from our current price action. So that's why I do err a little bit more on the bullish side right now. Of course, as always, just keep in mind that, things do switch around a little bit below $31,000. Okay, what else do we got? We're 29 minutes into this bitch, and I haven't even spoken about altcoins. Fuck altcoins, they're gone. All right, let's go look at Link. Link making new all-time highs, or did it? Yes, I believe it did. I still stick with my long-term $28.5 target, I think it was. 28.5. But I don't think that thing stopped there. Ultimately, this thing's very likely to go into the low 30s. The 414 is where I'd be looking for a potential short-term, not short-term, but medium-term, maybe even full on reversal, but $32.5 over time. Maybe over the next month or two, whatever it is. But for now, short-term target's going to be still that $28.5 number. I guess not so much short-term because it is based off a daily, but looking at the very short-term timeframes right here, we do have some bearish divergence going on. So if I'm looking at extremely short-term timeframes, I'll be looking for a move back down to like 22.25. I shouldn't fucking talk about Link though, because I get too many goddamn messages about this fucking thing. It's so motherfucking annoying. Oh man, there's nothing more gross than like people expecting you to do their trades for them. Gross, nasty, disgusting. Just kidding. I was that way when I was younger too. But the idea is to evolve from that. Anyways, it looks good here long term. Still looks good long term. How about that? Okay. All right. Uni, hey, popping up and taking out the last weekly high. Probably have to extend this run another 4,000, 5,000 Satoshis to 35 or so. What about Theta? Yep, we were bullish on this one yesterday. I remember back up to 64,000 Satoshis. Looks like we're getting pretty damn closer. I still remain bullish on this one. I'd probably even extend it to like 67,000 Satoshis. Looks fine. It's probably going to retest the prior all-time high anyway, so why even talk about that? DOT, yep, as we said, popped back up, tested the prior all-time high. Now it's going to make new all-time highs. Altcoin market's leading. Altcoin market it's not necessarily leading, but Bitcoin led first by going 100% above its all-time high. Now the rest of the market goes, but they're leading in relation to everything else right now. Okay, cool. Is there anything to cover up on Ethereum while we're here on the lower term time frames or on these charts? 4-hour Stokes still up. 4-hour RSI looks fine for continuation. I still think it gives like a full-on stab towards the upper 1300s, like 1380 to 1400-ish region. Hourly maybe is getting set up for a short-term pullback. Maybe comes back down to 1280, but overall up is the direction here, at least for now. 12-hour had the hidden bullish divergence play out, 1, 2, 3 stabs that we identified yesterday. So you're seeing it play out right now. Yes, things did look a little bit shaky over here, but all good, especially as momentum also has turned back up. More importantly, we do see that this is coming in from a trend line in late December. I guess actually no, it's regression. That's right, all the way back to late October. So all of these lows right here at 350, right here at 500, right here at 600, right here at 1,000 are all riding that. And yeah, I'd have to be further bullish on this. This is a really healthy 12-hour RSI right here. I'd be looking for a retest of the prior all-time high. I'd be looking for probably new all-time highs over the next couple weeks. I guess I'll just say it out loud now. What else do we want to look at? Nothing. I'm done with alts. Fuck you, altcoins. Get out of my face. Yeah, Link, you can go up. Cardano, you can go up too. Just gun your way up to 1250. How about that? Yeah, I think it's time to go back onto Bitcoin, and we'll wrap this bitch up, send her off, and have you on your merry way for a lazy Sunday. How do we want to do this right now? Do we even want to talk about the secondary charts right here? I don't think that we need to. I think we can do everything on these charts right here. Pretty damn simple. Actually, I do want to... You know what? No, we should do this with Ethereum because Ethereum does hold the key right now. It looks like to me. All right, Ethereum. Should we go to the 3-day and the weekly? All All right, let's wrap this bitch up. Ethereum, once again, the star of the market, has a chance to close above the top side Toronto band, of which it is right around its prior all-time high, which would imply that if we do close above on new all-time highs, which would just have to close above 13,000, or sorry, not 13,000, but 1366, then yes, we would not only be once again expanding on the weekly Toronto bands, aka implying new all-time highs on top of that, but we'd actually be closing on new all-time highs, which then, well, have to be looking at price discovery, I suppose, especially considering that Bitcoin did a very, very similar thing when it was consolidating below its prior all-time high at $20,000 right here, spending 1, 2, 3 weeks. On the fourth week, boom, massive move to the upside. And what do we see over here with Mr. Ethereum? Something very, 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 very similar, as you do see 1, 2, 3 working on our closure tonight. So that's going to be week number 3, coming into week number 4 after that, and that is going to be accompanied by some potential major signals, actually, both on the 3-day, of which that would make me bullish for new all-time highs. Actually, within the next few days, if we can close above the top side Toronto band here, 14,000 and some odd change, 1412 and some odd change, then yes, I'd be looking for immediate continuation. I also want to see the ADX DMI start to strengthen as well. DMI plus technically dominant right now, but not really, as the ADX is loosening. But if we do see that bounce on today's closure, then I would be looking for further continuation to the upside. Same thing over here. You know, the DMI plus working its way up. ADX is starting to strengthen, but we don't really necessarily have a signal just yet. More importantly, if we go back to our spot charts over here, I would be looking for, hey, Ethereum, god damn it, where the fuck are you? Piece of shit. There we go. All right, nice one. Ethereum 12-hour did initiate the hidden bullish divergence that we identified yesterday. 1, 2, 3 stabs and up back above the exponential, and likely does at the very least test the bullish control zone. I'd probably be looking for it to actually head in, especially as it is going to be accompanied by the 12-hour Stokes very likely crossing the upside once again with any sort of a closure above 1126 on the next closure. And this is also testing once again a regression. Motherfucker, this is not the right chart, but we can just do it back on over here. All the way from our October lows, all the way from these October lows right here, which has gotten all the major lows within these consolidation phases, from literally $350 all the way to $500 right here, $600 right here, $1,000 right here, and then once again at $1,100 right here. And this is all being accompanied by, well, essentially continuation signals. So I look at this as very likely to retest the prior all-time high at around 1,400, and then if those signals carry on into the 3-day and weekly closure that we just spoke about, which obviously the weekly would, if that condition is met, and the 3-day probably does, then we can talk about the next upside targets, which are going to be, I guess it would be over here on this chart, which would be, yes, 1,600 would be the next pattern target, to be fair. I highly doubt that things stop there, though. I very rarely see reversals at the 2-spot extension. What I really be looking for is a move to the 414, the 618, which are basically like 1,800. So, and then just extend it to fucking 2,000, because why not? How about that? Anyways, if that happens, I would be a lot more inclined to be short-term or long-term bullish on Bitcoin, of which I still am, just because, it's an uptrend and we are seeing behaviors of bottoming as it is right now, but still the same sort of interpretations are implied as we've been having over the last week and a half to 2 weeks now, which means that as long as Bitcoin is above this pivot right here, 30,850, or I can just say 31,000 bucks, because it's easier to say, I do look at this as more or less reaccumulation and a base being set in. That also implies that if Bitcoin breaks below this region, I am looking for a continuous reversal all the way down to 23 to 24,000. But as long as that condition is not met, I'm generally bullish here, looking for this area maybe to get retested a few times again. I don't really have strong opinions on that. My strong opinion is on this. If you do see Bitcoin head back above and either take out the high of this formation at 33,850 or close on new highs, which would be 33,650, then I would be looking for an extension, at the very least another $2,000 high to 35,500. And do things actually stop there? Probably not, and that's probably accompanied by an Ethereum breakout, to be fair. I would probably be looking for a short-term pullback here. Very, very likely we'd actually see another $2,000 drive to the medium-term target here at about 37,500. That's where things get interesting once again, because if we were to see that today, for example, that would actually force daily Stokes back up with any sort of a closure above 34,500. And by the way, this is currently meeting a trend line going all the way back down around here. It's almost there. Maybe one more tick on it, and then yes, it will actually officially test it. And these are connected with your major lows from March of this year. That's your coronavirus dump below, by the way. And then the next one after that is your September lows. So that was these two major lows coming in from here, and then again at 10,000. So 4,000, 10,000, and then technically speaking, maybe around like a little bit above 30,000 over here. So with that in mind, I do still think that Bitcoin has a little more sideways to go here, but ultimately with health around the general crypto market, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to likely give another try to the upside with those targets in mind. And, if those sorts of conditions conditions get, continue to be met, well, then the 12 hour is going to get forced up as well. And, have to really be thinking that, not only am I going to have a 37,500 target, but probably like a $40,000 target over the next week or whatever it is. So again, most eyes actually on Mr. Beetle right now. But with that said, that's how to kind of look at them in the greater market sphere. I want to wish you the best once again. Take care. And until next time.